All right, third graders, for reading, we're going to start with our main idea card of the day. So we're looking at card number 1. I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud, and you can be following along. It has been said that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Some Americans skip breakfast, though. Breakfast is important for many reasons. First, breakfast provides your body with fuel after a long night without food. Also, it has been found that those who eat breakfast are less likely to be overweight than people who skip the meal. Breakfast is also important because it allows the brain to work properly. The brain is an organ. Just like any other organ in the body, the brain needs energy to work. Eating breakfast gets that energy to the brain at the start of your day. Many studies have shown that eating breakfast can improve memory levels. In studies with children, eating breakfast has been linked to improved grades. What is the main idea of this passage? A, breakfast is the first meal of the day. B, there are many foods that can be eaten for breakfast. C, breakfast is an important meal for several reasons. Or D, some Americans skip breakfast. That is correct. C is the correct answer. Breakfast is an important meal for several reasons. What detail tells more about the main idea? A, some Americans skip breakfast. B, some people skip lunch, which can also be harmful. C, children who eat breakfast before school tend to get better grades. It's definitely not B, because that has nothing to do about breakfast. So you would either need to choose A and or C. Which would be the best title for this passage? A, brain food. B, don't skip your breakfast. C, breakfast foods. Or D, 3 meals a day. Well, it doesn't talk about 3 meals a day. It doesn't talk about the types of foods you should have for breakfast. It does talk about how the food is good for your brain, but it is about not skipping it. So I'm thinking B is possibly the best option for this one. All right. Text feature questions of the day. So on the left, you're going to identify the text feature displayed below. Is that an illustration, a diagram, a chart, or a timeline? That is correct. It is a chart. Letter C. On the right, identify the text feature displayed inside the circles. Bold print, guide words, words in italics, or subheadings. That is correct. They are bolded print, so it should be letter A. Remember not to pay attention to the times because your times may be a little bit different today if you are virtual. The teaching point says good nonfiction readers can determine the connection between sentences and paragraphs, meaning comparison, cause and effect, or chronological order. So we're going to take a look at a poster. So how is the text organized? Okay. We're going to be looking mainly at comparing and contrasting, which is in green, so that would be the Venn diagram. Cause and effect, which would be in blue. And then chronological order, which is very similar to sequence, which is in pink. Today's focus is going to be comparison, which we call comparing and contrasting. So the informational text structure for comparing and contrasting is to show how 2 or more things are alike and different. So here it says both starfish and sand dollars have tube feet to move them along. Some signal words that you want to be looking for when comparing and contrasting is like, unlike, also, similar, different, to, as well as, however, although, and same as. Today I want to teach you that architects, which are authors, build their nonfiction texts with the help of certain structures and supports. These are called nonfiction text structures, and they help the author build the text by connecting sentences and paragraphs in order to accomplish the author's purpose for writing. So we're going to take a look at a compare and contrast slideshow. It's in PowerPoint. All right, think. How are Earth and Mars similar or almost the same? They are both planets. They both have water present on their surfaces. They both have about the same amount of dry land. When we talk about how two things are the same, we are actually comparing them. When we compared Earth and Mars, we talked about what they had in common and how they were similar. Think, how are Earth and Mars different? Mars is a lot farther away from the sun than Earth is from the sun. Earth takes about 365 days to orbit the sun, while Mars takes about 687 days. The weather on Mars is much colder than the weather on Earth. When we talk about how two things are different, we're contrasting them. When we contrasted Earth and Mars, we talked about their differences or how they were not alike. Now you try. Let's compare paper bags and plastic bags that are used for groceries. Remember, to compare is to talk about how they are the same. Okay? Remember that contrasting means how they are different. So be thinking about that in your mind. How are they different? How are they the same? I'm going to skip some of this. Authors sometimes give us hints to show when they are comparing two things. When you see these words in the story, they can help you see that the author is comparing things. Similar to, unlike, both, the same, also, just like. Some of those you saw on the poster that I showed you before. Authors sometimes give us hints to show when they are contrasting two things. When you see these words in the story, they can help you see that the author is contrasting things. Different, but, unlike, while, although, however. Here's an example. Do you enjoy playing sports? I play both football and soccer. In football, you throw and catch the ball with your hands. However, in soccer, you can't use your hands at all. In both sports, you do a lot of running. Just like in football, you wear cleats in soccer. When you score in football, it's called a touchdown, but in soccer, it's called a goal. How can we compare football and soccer? How can we contrast the two sports? So let's look back for hints that the author is comparing. What hints did you find to show comparing? And remember that the similar words are down at the bottom, the comparing words. You can pause this video if you need to. Now let's look back for hints that the author is contrasting. The contrasting words are down at the bottom. Pause this video if you need to. We can also compare and contrast when reading two different texts on the same topic. For example, here are some of the things you can compare and contrast when reading two texts: main ideas, events, key details, problems, and solutions. Let's read these two texts. One of them is about leopard sharks and one of them is about hammerhead sharks. Leopard sharks. Our world's oceans have a variety of sharks, but have you heard of the leopard shark? The leopard shark is pretty small in size, between about 3 to 4 feet. Leopard sharks are bottom feeders, which means that they can feed on things that are at the bottom of the ocean. They enjoy eating rays, crabs, and shrimp, among other things. They get their name because of the dark oval spotted pattern on their skin. Hammerhead sharks. Hammerhead sharks have some odd-shaped heads, don't they? Their heads help them pin their food to the ground when hunting. Hammerheads hunt their food at the bottom of the ocean. Their diet includes shrimp, crabs, octopus, and stingrays. These sharks are large, getting up to 20 feet in size. Hammerheads have grayish-brown backs with white underbellies. So let's compare these two texts. What do they have that are similar? Let's take a look at the main idea and key details, so you may need to pause this video. So now we're looking at the pink, okay? So on the left, it says leopard sharks are bottom feeders, and it tells you that the things that they eat. On the right, it talks about hammerheads and how they hunt for food and what they eat. So in these two texts, we can compare the key details. Now we're going to contrast them. So how are these texts different? So you may need to pause this video. Now we're looking at the blue. Okay, it talks about their size for leopard sharks, and it talks about how they get their name. For the hammerhead sharks, it talks about their size and also the colors of them. So that's how we are contrasting them using their key details. So when comparing and contrasting two texts, this is a good strategy to use. Similarities and differences. So this is another way to use a Venn diagram. Instead of circles, they're using a rectangle and dividing it up that way. So think about what comparing and contrasting means. What strategy can you use to help you organize your comparing and contrasting? Well, if you like the box theory, you can be doing that instead of using a Venn diagram. So after today, students can determine the connection between sentences and paragraphs by using comparing and contrasting. Now, just as a reminder, don't pay attention to the times, but what you're going to be doing today is in Class Kick, comparing and contrasting assignment. Look for 1026. If and when you're done with Class Kick, you're going to be doing iStation. You're going to be doing iStation for about 20 minutes, if not maybe a little bit longer, and then you can be reading after that. Now, I would rather have you finish all of Class Kick, at least 20 minutes of iStation, and then you can read if you have any other time. Please pay attention to the schedule. So if you don't fully read independently for 20 minutes, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I need you to focus on Class Kick and iStation more than the reading independently. So click back. Here's your independent task page. You have an hour for reading. So that means you need to watch this video, go to Class Kick, complete your assignment, then do iStation. If you have any other time after that, then you go and you read. You can do a chapter book from the library, you can do a chapter book that you happen to have at home, or you can be getting on Epic. Please refer to this independent task page if you have any questions.